Hello and welcome to The Insider, a show designed to clue you into the biggest news, events, and announcements inside the video games industry, discussing with you some things you may know, some things you may not, and glue holds it all together is a little bit of my own opinion. My name is Paul James, thank you very much for watching, and let's get with the episode.
Marlin! We got walkers on the fence! Monsters.
So Telltale Games just won't die. The news has emerged in the last 24 to 48 hours, depending on when you caught it, that Telltale Games, the name and some of its IP, have been acquired by a new team that have never had anything to do with the company, nor any of its IP over the journey, but nonetheless have wanted to pledge some money and make things right again. What does that all mean for the IP, for the company, for the people who made the game? Who knows? But in this week's episode of The Insider, we're going to speculate a little bit. We're going to break down some of the news, what we know, what we don't, and then talk a little bit about what we might expect in the future for Telltale Games.
Game on!
Let's begin by talking about some of the facts. So Telltale Games and the licenses for The Wolf Among Us, the Telltale Batman games, as well as some of Telltale's own IP, including Puzzle Agent, have been bought up by LCG Entertainment. Now, it's not a really prominent name. The company has been responsible for the likes of Duck Dynasty over the journey, which, if you know anything about Duck Dynasty, it's nothing flash. But those IP, the company's name, they've all been acquired by this LCG Entertainment, headed by Jamie Ottilli and Brian Waddle. And they've both got different experiences at different sorts of places, like we spoke about. They've one of them has been responsible for Duck Dynasty and several other titles. You've got Brian, who's then been working at Havoc over the journey. So they bring a range of different sorts of experiences, some successful, some less so, some somewhere in the middle. And what they're looking to do is offer a whole bunch of freelance roles to ex-Telltale Game staff in the hopes that in time they'll become full-time proper contracts. And they're looking at other IP that they could acquire as well. Some of the things that Telltale used to be in possession of. Maybe that's Borderlands, Tales from the Borderlands. Maybe that's Game of Thrones. Maybe that's some of the things they've been messing around with when it comes to Guardians of the Galaxy. Maybe they'll look to try and work with Netflix to get Stranger Things back, and all those sorts of little deals that could be wheeled and dealed in the background. That's still to be determined, but at the moment they're starting to get the cogs in place. And next, we're going to look at some of the possibilities, some of the things they're going to explore, what their plans are, before we get into a little bit of speculation. So let's get into that.
I just keep thinking that things might have ended differently if I was there.
Everybody dies. It's not really up to us anymore.
In the press release, the details, the interviews that have kind of come out around this announcement, the general consensus, the general word out of the company has been that they're really going to take their time here. They're going to take 6 months and they're just going to get some of the building blocks in place. But they're also going to take some time and explore those stories that they've now acquired in the form of The Wolf Among Us and Batman and potentially some others they may acquire in the meantime. And they're going to do some feasibility tests. They're going to see whether it is a viable option to return to those. Please bring back Wolf. Please bring back Wolf. But they're still evaluating those things. You can put a line through, at least at this particular point in time, The Walking Dead, which is now owned by Skybound, who did finish off the final season. Go check out a full Player 2 Plays series for the entire season on the channel, so subscribe, go check that out. And of course, Stranger Things, which Netflix currently owns, but who knows, maybe the two can work together in some sort of capacity, and Telltale Games can in fact develop the Stranger Things game that we knew they were beginning to conceptualize and develop. But again, overall, right now, they're looking to stay small. They want to get the building blocks right. They want to make sure that there is a viable future for this company, the games it makes, and they've got a few ideas about how they're going to do that, a few things they disclosed. We're going to talk about that next and then jump into some opinions. So let's get to that.
I'm not impressed.
So some thoughts. Look, this is a really awkward sort of period for a lot of people here when it comes to Telltale Games, in terms of ex-employees, in terms of potential freelancers that we spoke about before. Some of them maybe become future full-timers, in terms of the IP that they have, in terms of what it's like for the gamers. Because I expressed my excitement before about Wolf Among Us 2, And that was an official thing. That was a greenlit thing that was coming from Telltale at one point. And I was so hyped about that. And so outside of, once the incredible disappointment for, all those employees that lost their jobs kind of washed away, I then also, well, not washed away, that seems really disrespectful, and it's not meant to be that way, but when I'd kind of processed all that, I then went, oh, that thing that I was really excited for is now not going to happen either. And I'd just gotten to the point where I was accepting that, and then all of a sudden that fire has been restoked in some way. But then when I think about that scenario, I think about how, okay, great, maybe Wolf Among Us 2 is the first cab off the rank here, and maybe that they've developed that, but it's not the same talent. So where do I set my expectations? Because these are not the same people that are working on it. Maybe some of them will come back, and that'd be great if that's the case. But it's not going to be the same people. It's not going to be the same development pipeline. It's not going to be the same approach to development that we've come to expect from a Telltale game over the journey. And in some ways, that'll likely be a good thing, because we know that the Telltale company and the IP that they're managing, they were mismanaged, and that's why they went out of business in the first place. So there could be some really good things to come out of this. But it does mean that you need to be cautiously optimistic about this. We might see Batman, we might see Wolf Among Us, we might see more Tales from the Borderlands, we might see Game of Thrones, we might see who knows what else, as well as some of their original IP. But there's reason to just take your time, process it, look to see what's going on. It could be several years before we see the first product anyway, based on the fact that they're saying, we're going to take 6 months to take our time, build the building blocks, start to get the team in place, and then go for it. Means we're going to still be a fair way away from seeing anything out of this new Telltale games. One thing they did discuss, though, is the fact that they like the idea of the binge consumption model, something that we've gotten very familiar with from the likes of Netflix, Stan, and several other online platforms. Interestingly enough, Disney Plus is not going that way, in favor of week by week drop in the form of what we're seeing with The Mandalorian and presumably some of the other products they put out in the future. And personally, I don't like the big binge thing. I like the idea in terms of the consumer, the way we consume TV, or in this case, games. I like for there to be a little gap between episodes. Not what Telltale did back in the day, where it might take months and months before the next episode comes out, similar to what we're seeing with Life is Strange 2 at the moment. It's ridiculous. It's not okay, because you forget everything that's going on. You lose yourself a little bit, and you jump back into that new episode, and you feel like you're going in blind, and that's not really okay. But if they want to kind of adopt a binge style model, bring it in line for any games that they release. Bring it in line with what we've come to expect from TV in the good old days. Drop episodes once a week. Get all 5 or 6 or whatever it is you plan on doing episodes ready, and then drop them 1 week at a time, and you can own that conversation for 5 to 6 weeks, rather than for a week here or there every few months. Because I think if you want your games to sell, if you want people to stand up and pay attention, you get those things out quickly-ish, and you're going to maintain this steady trickle of content and discussion and all those sorts of things, and it gets more people in the door. I think that is a far better strategy than just firing a shot, and if it doesn't even totally quite hit, you've blown your opportunity. But you can keep chipping away at it via that episodic model. We'll see how it all plays out. Those are my thoughts on Telltale. Let's move on. So that concludes this week's episode of The Insider. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. All those buttons are down below here. And smash that notification bell. That way you're alerted to every new video the moment it goes live on the channel. That includes Patched, more of The Insider, Player 2 Plays, Late Game Review, Gamer School, and a whole bunch more. There's some awesome content there, so please be sure to go and check it out. Visit the website, player2.net.au, where you find links to all those videos, as well as news, reviews, opinion pieces, features, the Player 2 Writer's Draft. There's heaps of really cool stuff there, so please be sure to go and check it out. We're on Patreon, patreon.com/player2au. Consider kicking in a few bucks. At the lower tiers, you'll get early access to episodes. At the higher tiers, you'll get monthly episode exclusives. And finally, there's Twitter. You can find me at Paul James Games. The website is player2au. And until next time, that's Telltale Games. We may be talking more about this in the years and months and years to come, but we'll have to wait and see what they do. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.